The internet is one of the greatest inventions in human history. It has given us all access to unimaginable amounts of knowledge at our fingertips and has linked people from all over the world together like never before. But what if it suddenly shut down forever? What if the internet, along with all of the websites we know and love, disappeared off the face of the earth for good? How would we function without it? There are many possibilities for how the internet could fail. Perhaps a large part of the infrastructure could be destroyed by a natural disaster or an intentional attack. Maybe the systems simply couldn't handle the growing amount of data being sent through them and collapsed under their own weight. Or maybe some virus or worm got loose and corrupted too much data to ever recover. Whatever the cause may be, the result would be catastrophic. Before we jump in, we want to make something clear. The internet isn't going anywhere anytime soon. This video is just a fun exploration of what would happen if this modern marvel somehow failed. With that said, let's explore what would happen if the internet, along with everything associated with it, were to shut down completely and permanently. People all over the world have become dependent on the internet for almost everything they do. We use it to communicate with friends and family, get news and weather updates, manage our bank accounts, find directions, purchase goods and services, learn new skills, and so much more. Without it, our ability to function as a society would grind to a screeching halt. At first, people would probably try to fill the void left by the internet by reaching out to friends and family in person or over the phone. For those living far away from loved ones, this would be a welcome change. Parents might actually get to see their children more often. Families might start having regular dinner conversations again instead of everyone sitting in silence on their devices. And friendships would likely become stronger as people are forced to spend time with each other instead of interacting via text messages. But beyond the personal impacts, the effects on commerce would be devastating. Businesses of all sizes rely heavily on the internet to function. Websites would no longer be able to sell products or services. Companies would lose the ability to connect with clients and suppliers. Supply chains would break down, and the global economy would fall into chaos. Some industries would be hit harder than others. For example, airlines would be unable to book flights or check passengers in online. Hotels would lose the ability to manage reservations or communicate with guests. And restaurants would no longer be able to take online orders or payments. In addition, anyone who worked from home or who had a job that required them to be online, a lot would be unable to do their work. While these disruptions would likely only last a few weeks or months, the long-term consequences would be even more severe. After all, most people don't carry around laptops and modems anymore. They rely on having a strong internet connection at home and at work in order to do their jobs. So what would happen to people who lost their jobs because of the shutdown? Well, they would likely be unable to find new employment because companies wouldn't be able to advertise open positions online. Jobless individuals would also be unable to use resources like Glassdoor to research a potential employer or to find out what questions they might be asked during an interview. In addition, there would be no easy way to apply to jobs without the internet. Companies would likely resort to the old-fashioned method of placing ads in newspapers, which would likely be the only form of mass communication still available. Even finding a new apartment would become nearly impossible without the internet. Most landlords use websites like Zillow and Trulia to list their properties and screen tenants. So if you wanted to move somewhere else, you would have to rely on word of mouth or driving around your desired neighborhood and looking for a for rent sign. As time went on, people would likely begin to forget how to do things that didn't require an internet connection. For example, many young people have never used a physical map or globe and would likely be utterly lost without GPS. In addition, there would be no easy way to research medical conditions or treatments, which could lead to some potentially dangerous situations. People would have to rely on old-fashioned methods of entertainment, such as reading books or playing board games. And they would have to get creative when it came to meeting new people, since there would be no easy way to connect with like-minded individuals. Of course, some people would actually relish in the prospect of life without the internet. After all, it can be a pretty toxic place at times. Without the internet, people would be less likely to compare themselves to others on social media, which could lead to higher self-esteem and less depression. There would also be less cyberbullying and harassment, since it would be difficult to find someone's personal information without the internet. In addition, life without the internet would likely be a lot safer. One of the biggest dangers of the internet is the amount of personal information that is constantly being shared and stored online. Without the internet, it would be difficult for hackers and scammers to obtain sensitive data such as social security numbers and credit card information. And there would also be less identity theft, since it would be hard for thieves to open accounts in someone else's name without the internet. Perhaps one of the most significant impacts of an internet shutdown would be the return of privacy. One of the main reasons people love the internet is because it gives them access to information that would otherwise be unavailable. But this comes at a cost. Every time you visit a website, information about your visit is stored in a database and can be accessed by hackers or the government. Without the internet, it would be much harder for organizations to track your every move. You would be able to walk down the street without being followed by Google Maps, and you could talk about your private conversations without worrying that someone was listening in. So while an internet shutdown would cause a lot of problems, it would also come with some benefits. The key to surviving an internet shutdown would be to be prepared. That means having a stockpile of food and other supplies on hand in case you get sick or injured. It also means knowing how to grow your own food and take care of yourself without relying on the government or outside help. In addition, it would be important to have a plan in place for how you would communicate with friends and family if the internet and cell phones were to go down. And finally, it would be wise to have some cash on hand in case businesses stop accepting credit cards. By taking these steps, you can ensure that you will be able to survive an internet shutdown and come out even stronger on the other side. If the internet were to go down, it would cause a lot of chaos and destruction. But it would also give us a chance to reconnect with ourselves, our families, and our friends. We would be able to appreciate the simple things in life more, and we would be less likely to compare ourselves to others. Do you think you could survive an internet shutdown? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.